Once again, Shana Tova, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome back. And in the spirit of welcoming back, before we continue with the healing service, I'm going to ask Alex to sing us back together with Return Again.
Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again. Return again, return to the land of your soul.
Thank you so much, Alex. And I'm going to call on Sharon Whitner to come up and lead us in our healing service and the prayers for healing. Hope we all got the chance to recharge a little bit and really bring our spirits together for the chance to pray first for healing and then for the memory of our loved ones. And I will put the Debbie Friedman song up on the screen so that we can all sing along with Sharon.
Please join me with the words of the song that we used for introducing our healing service. Let's sing together. Mi sheberach avotenu mikor habracha limotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mikor habracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Misha berach avotenu ve'imotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov, Moshe v'Aaron, David u'Shlomo, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, v'Leah, Bilha v'Zilpa, u'Yivarech v'Yirafeh et hacholim, b'nei Avraham v'Sarah, b'nei Adam v'Chava. May God, who blessed our ancestors, bless and heal those in need of it now. And when we call the names of individuals who need healing now, let's remember that there are many whose names we don't know. Let's wish for healing for all of them. Let's wish for healing for our country where there's too much cruelty and callousness, too much fear, too much anger. Let's wish for healing for all of us who need it. Joan Lysick, Shoshana Bat Pinchas V'Chana, Meir Ben Vega V'Aaron Yitzchak, Dennis McNeely, Jess Kramer, Alexis Watson, Joel Gordon, May Daub, Bob Jelly, Bruce Mallory, Michael Cohn, John O'Brien, Jacques Mansay, Carol Barker, Catherine Doloff, Ken Bosey, Chana Bat Rivka, Lorraine Daniluk, Denise Stelmack, Yitzchak Ben Yisrael, Madeline Blake, Rachel Barcelona, Corey Brown, Kara Smoley, Fotios Rallis, Nama Chava bat Benjamin Verut, Chanoch ben Avraham, Rivka Shena Chaya bat Sarah ve'Eliyahu B'Tzalel. And we'll just take a minute now of silence and praying for anyone and all who you know of who need it now.
And if anyone would like to share a name in the chat in lieu of doing so out loud, please do so in the next minute as we think of all the others who need our prayers of healing.
Ba'avur she'anach mitpalalim ba'avuram, bishchar zeh HaKadosh Baruch Hu yimalei rachamim aleihem, lahachalimam ulerapotam, ulahachazikam ulahachayotam, v'yishlach lahem hera refuah shlema min hashamayim, refuat hanefesh urefuat haguf, hashta ba'agala uvizman kariv, v'nomar Amen.
Thank you so much, Sharon. And in just a few minutes, we'll continue with Yizkor. But first, of course, it's my honor to share some words with you. It goes without saying that Jewish practice has undergone some radical transformation this year. True, there were many synagogues streaming services before the pandemic, but very few did so instead of in-person services. A live stream may have been available for folks who are homebound or ill, but otherwise, the avenue for joining services or a minyan was to show up in person. When it became necessary for so many congregations to move our prayer services online, it wasn't as simple as firing up Zoom and replicating what each of our communities had been doing for years. Community leaders tried to make it as smooth a transition as possible, but technology presented stumbling blocks, and it was difficult to stay true to what lies at the core of our communal experience. I don't expect to hear gasps when I say that face-to-face interactions are at the foundation of our community and are irreplaceable, as is singing together and giving each other handshakes and hugs. Zoom hands just don't cut it. In many communities, there were also serious concerns with regards to the halakha, the Jewish law of praying over Zoom. We are fortunate that CAA takes a pretty progressive stance on Jewish law. We are a traditional community, but we also recognize that personal and interpersonal experiences can supersede religious dogma. It was a no-brainer that we would continue to include parts of the service that traditionally require a minyan, the Kedusha, Baruch Hu, and Kaddish in our services. That being said, it's still a fascinating intellectual exercise to attempt to figure out what exactly the medieval halachic masters would have had to say about the possibility of bringing together a minyan over Zoom. The Shulchan Aruch, written by Rabbi Yosef Karo in 15th century Spain, and still the basis for most modern Jewish law, actually discussed a hypothetical whereby the different members making up the minyan of 10 people were not all physically in the same space, but could see each other through a window. In Karo's opinion, this was a valid quorum for a minyan, and many modern scholars, appropriately in my opinion, Equate the Zoom experience to seeing each other through windows. That's certainly what it looks like from my view. Of course, not every community ascribes to this standard. Certainly not those that don't use electricity on Shabbat in the first place. But many communities were desperate for just such a loophole. And one of the main drivers behind that was to give people an opportunity to say the mourner's Kaddish. The idea of taking away this opportunity for community members to honor and remember their loved ones was unthinkable. This comes as no surprise. Even for those of us who may not attend services regularly, Yizkor and Yortzites are marked in our calendars in bold. One of the things that is special about our intimate weekly Shabbat services is that those observing a Yortzeit take a few minutes to share memories about the person they are remembering. A few months ago, in a conversation with someone who had recently begun attending services, she remarked in an email that I do like all the Yortzeit celebrations. That really speaks to me. Compared to a Christian service, so much of your service is about death. You embrace it, it seems, and I find it comforting. I had never before thought about our services being about death, but the perception makes sense. After all, every week we read the names of those we are remembering. We call the prayer the mourner's Kaddish, and the parts of the service that often wind up feeling the most personal and unique are often the parts that deal with honoring the dead. But in my mind, our ritual practices exemplify what we mean when we talk about a celebration of life. Sharing personal stories, reflecting on how much we miss them, even lighting a Yortzeit candle or the light bulb next to the memorial plaque. It brings the light of our loved ones' lives back into our own experience. Yet as deeply personal as Yizkor can be, it is also an opportunity to magnify our collective prayers. As Rabbi Eric Weiss, a rabbi who specializes in pastoral and spiritual care, writes, "What if my grief was not a stage, but just a contribution to all who have come before me, to all those who will come after me? What if my grief was another invitation to just join our common humanity?" Our Yizkor service this year will give us an opportunity to cast our net much wider than usual, to truly recognize the grief being shared by all humanity. As we approach 1 million deaths globally from the coronavirus, and having recently surpassed 200,000 deaths in the US alone, it is incumbent upon us to not only pray for those we know and love, but also come together with those all over the world who are remembering their own loved ones lost to the pandemic. Beyond that, we can strive to include the memories and spirits of all those we could not have possibly known, much as we try to do in our healing service. I spoke on Shavuot about Yizkor as an act of tikkun, of fixing and repair on a scale much larger than just our Newburyport area community. That holds true today as well. In addition to celebrating the memories of our loved ones, we can also memorialize the lives of so many lost. We have the opportunity to open up our hearts in prayer to include those who have died from COVID-19, people in America and around the world who have lost their lives to natural disasters, and communities mourning those who have been killed through racial injustice. Supporting those who are grieving is a vital function of Jewish and synagogue life. Challenging ourselves to broaden the support we offer will only serve to strengthen our community. But I don't want to lose sight of the personal connections and memories in our Yizkor service. In fact, I think joining in Yizkor from our homes can actually enhance the experience of celebrating the memories of our loved ones. I know that for many of you, it feels like a loss in itself that you need to join and songs from home. You won't have the wall of the memorial plaques lit up behind you. You won't be sharing this experience communally in the way that usually brings so much comfort. Yet there are opportunities this year to feel even deeper connections. Take a moment to grab a picture or a memento of the people you are remembering. Bring them close to you in a way you couldn't in the sanctuary. Bring your yahrzeit candle into your prayer space. Share the light that your memories are bringing into your life. Take some time this afternoon to share memories and stories of your loved ones. Use time during the break this afternoon and call up a friend or a family member and share those memories that bring a smile to your face. We talked yesterday about vulnerability and tears. With no one around you this year but your family, maybe your dog or your cat, perhaps you can relax emotionally in a way that you never could in a room full of people. Perhaps experiencing Yizkor while physically alone but emotionally supported will give the traditional service a shot of new life and energy. Rabbi Harold Schulweis writes that when dying is over, a different kind of memory takes over. Not the memory that records the past indiscriminately, but an active memory that sifts through the ashes of the past to retrieve isolated moments and that gives heart to the future. Let's turn to Yizkor together, activate those memories, and give space to grieve our losses while also celebrating why the experience of remembering means so much to us in the first place. In just a moment, we'll rise as I pick up the Torah and begin Yizkor on page 290, which I will share on the screen. Adonai ma'adam v'tadehu ben enosh v'techashvehu Adam lahevel dama yamav ketzel over baboker yatzitz v'chalaf La'erev yemolel v'yavesh limnot yameinu kein hoda v'navi levav chokhmah. Adonai, what are human beings that you should take account of them, mortals that you care for them? Humans are as a breath, their days like a passing shadow. In the morning, they flourish anew. In the evening, they shrivel and die. Teach us to count each day that we may acquire a heart of wisdom. And please follow along with me on the left-hand side of page 290 in English. Some of us recall parents who watched over us, nursed us, guided us, and sacrificed for us. Some of us lovingly call to mind a wife, husband, or partner with whom we were truly united in our hopes and in our pains, in our failures and our achievements, in our joys and our sorrows. Some of us remember brothers and sisters who grew up together with us, sharing in the play of childhood, in the youthful adventure of discovering life's possibilities, bound to us by a heritage of family tradition and by years of togetherness and love. Some of us call to mind children entrusted to us too briefly, to whom we gave our loving care and from whom we received a trust that enriched our lives. So many of us recall beloved relatives and friends whose affection and devotion enhanced our lives and whose visible presence will never return to cheer, encourage, or support us. Though they are gone, we are grateful for the blessings they brought to our lives. We are sustained and comforted by the thought that their presence in our lives remains an enduring blessing that we can bequeath to others. We can show our devotion to them by our devotion to those ideas that they cherished. O God of love, make us worthy of the love we have received by teaching us to love you with all our heart and with all our soul and with all our might, and to spread the light of your divine love on all whose lives touch ours. Give us strength to live faithfully, for we are cheered by our confidence that you will not permit our lives to be wasted, but will bring all our worthy strivings to live on, even as we may not see their fulfillment. And a reading, and the child asked. And the child asked, tell me of life, and the sage answered, life, my child, is a mystery. We do not ask to be born, nor do we even understand the meaning of birth, of creation. We grow and we experience life's pleasures and pains. We love, and slowly, oh so slowly, we come to realize that we have become, that we are. At that moment, we humble ourselves before the mystery of life and quietly say, though I knew not, I have been granted the most precious gift of all, the gift of life. And the child asked, tell me of death, and the sage answered, death, my child, is a mystery. It is the inevitable return of the gift of life, the gift which came free to us. We live as the trustee of that mysterious being, of that unexplainable becoming. Yes, you and I are but the trustees of life. We nurture it, we delight in it, we give it to others. And at the appointed time, we sadly, yet with pride, return it from whence it came. The beauty, my child, is that we are what we have become. It remains long after the gift has been returned. It remains as a precious keepsake with our loved ones who live on. And I'm going to turn to page 291, both in the Mussaf and on the screen. I'm going to sing a song in repetition a couple times, and I'm going to give you all the chance to say your personal prayers for the ones you're remembering today. And I'll also give you an opportunity, again, since we are missing the wall of plaques that lights up so beautifully in our sanctuary, if you do want to put the names of those you're remembering this year into the chat and share them with your friends and family so that we can all join together in this act of remembrance, please take the opportunity to do so. Eli, Eli, shelo yigamer leolam, hachol v'hayam, rishru shel hamayim berak, hashamayim tfilat hadam, hachol v'hayam, rishru shel hamayim berak, hashamayim tfilat hadam. My God, I pray that these things never end. The sand and the sea, the rustle of the waters, the light of the heavens, the prayers of all
the sand and the sea, the rustle of the waters, the light of the heavens, the prayers of all. And we'll continue on page 292. And if those of you maybe didn't get a chance to put names in the chat, please feel free to continue doing so throughout the rest of Yizkor. We'll continue on page 292 with an El Maleh for the victims of the Holocaust. El Maleh Rachamim Shochein Bamromim Hamtzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina B'ma'alot Kedoshim Utehorim Kezor Harakia Mazhirim Lenishmot Kol Acheinu B'nei Yisrael Shenitbechu Bashoah Anashim Nashim V'taf Shenechneku V'shenisrafu V'shenehargu Shemasru et nafsham al kiddush Hashem Began Eden tehei menuchatam Anaval harachamim Hastirim beseter knafech l'olamim Utror bitorachim et nishmotehem Adonai hu nachalatam Ve'anuach b'shalom al mishkevotehem Ve'nomar Amen. And we turn to page 293, and we'll include an El Maleh for everyone we're remembering today. And if you do have a candle or a picture or a memento of your loved ones, bring it close. El Maleh Rachamim Shochein Bamromim Hamtzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina B'ma'alot Kedoshim Utehorim Kezor Harakia Mazhirim Lenishmot Kol Eile Sheizkarnu Hayom Livracha Shehalchu Leolamam Began Eden Tehei Menuchatam Hanaval Rachamim Hastirim Beseter Knafecha Leolamim Utror Bitorachim et Nishmotehem Adonai hu nachalatam Ve'anuach b'shalom al mishkevotehem Ve'nomar Amen. Exalted, compassionate God, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure, whose radiance is like the heavens, to the souls of all those we have recalled today. May their memory be a blessing, and may they rest in paradise. Master of mercy, may they find eternal shelter beneath your sheltering wings, and may their souls be bound up in the bond of life. Adonai is their portion, may they rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. And we'll continue with Psalm 23 in Hebrew. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai roi lo echzar, Bihinot deshe yarbitzeni, al mei menuchot yanaleini. Nafshi yeshovev, Nafshi yeshovev, Yancheni b'maglei tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki eilech begeitz al mavet lo irara ki ata imadi. משבטך ומשענתך, שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן, תערוך לפני שולחן, תערוך לפני שולחן, נגד צורריי. דשנת ושמן ראשי, דשנת ושמן ראשי, דשנת ושמן ראשי, כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. And in just a moment, we'll continue with the Mourner's Kaddish. First, I'd like to read a poem by Deborah Cash called Mourner's Kaddish for Every Day. Build me up of memory, loving and angry, tender and honest. Let my loss build me a heart of wisdom, compassion for the world's many losses. Each hour is mortal, and each hour is eternal, and each hour is our testament. May I create worthy memories all the days of my life. And we're going to turn to page 294, and I'm going to invite everyone who would like to unmute to please do so and join us in the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal, Yitgadash, Shemei Rabbah. Be'alma divrach v'tei, be'amlich malchutei, be'chayechon, yomechon, b'yed beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'bizman kariv, v'imru, amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach, le'olam u'mei omayah. Barach, Yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar, V'yitromam, V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitalei, V'yitalal, Shemei Dekudesha, Richu. Le'ela, Kol Birchata, V'shirata, Tushbechata, V'nechemata, V'amiran Be'alma, V'imru, Amen. Yishlam Rava min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu, Ve'al Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Oseh Shalom U'Rama, U'Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu, Ve'al Yisrael, V'Kol Yoshvei Tevel, V'imru, Amen. And in just a moment, you probably shouldn't sit because we're about to return the Torah, but as soon as I can organize the bima a little bit, I'm going to invite Alex to come back up and lead us in the returning of the Torah. And we're going to be on page 296. Sorry.
Hallelujah, et Shem Adonai, ki niskahav shemo levado.
Odo aleret v'shamayim
Vayaharen
keren liyamo
tehila
lechol chasidav
livnei Yisrael am kirovo. Hallelujah.
Page 297.
Le David mizmor, Adonai haaretz umeloa, tevel biyoshvei vakihu al yamim yesada, ve'al neharot yechoneneha, mi'alev vehar Adonai. Umi yakum bimkom kodsho neki chapayim uvar levav asher lo nasa lashav nafshi velo nishva lemirma yisav bracha me'ed Adonai Utzaka Melohei Yisho Zedor Shav Mivakshei Panecha Yaakov Sela Seu She'arim Rasheichem Vehinasu Pitrei Olam V'yavo Melech HaKavod Mize melech hakavod, Adonai Izus v'gibor, Adonai gibor milchama, Seu she'arim rasheichem, Useu pitrei olam v'yavo melech hakavod, Mihu ze melech hakavod, Adonai tziva'ot, Hu melech hakavod Selah. Ki lecha tov, nachati lachem, Torati al
tazovu
et
ayim hi lamachazikim ba Omcheha Merushar Yeracheha Darchei Noam Vechol Netivoteha Shalom Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Chadesh Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem And we'll continue with the Chatzi Kaddish. We're still on page 298.
Yitgadal ve'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah
Amen.
Ve'alma tiberak yiruteh Ve'amlich malchutei b'chayechodu yomecho uvechaye dechol Beit Yisrael b'gala ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן יהי שמי רבא מבורך לעולם עולמי יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתהדר ויתהלל שמי דקודשא בריחו לעילא מן כל ברכתה ושירתה ושבחתה ונחמתה תמירן העלמה ואמרו Amen.
You may be seated as we turn to page 312 for the Hineni prayer, Alex's personal prayer for strength as he leads our congregation in communal prayer.
Tehilot Yisrael Mati Ahamor Lehitchanein Lefanecha Al Hamcha Yisrael Asher Shilachuni אף על פי שאיני חדש והגון לך לכן אבקש ממך אלוהי אברהם אלוהי יצחק אלוהי יעקב אלוהי שרה אלוהי רבקה אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה אדוני אדוני אל רחום וחנון אלוהי Elohei Yisrael, Shaddai Hayom V'Nora, Heyena Matzliach Darki, Asher Ani Holech La'amo Akesh Rachamim Alai Ve'al Sholchai Ve'na'al Tavshiehim B'chatotai Ve'al Techayvim Ba'avonotai Ki Chotei U'Foshei Ani Ve'al Yikamu Ivshai Ve'al Yivoshu Bi Ve'al Evosha Bahem Ve'kabel Tefilati Kitfilat Ragil Ve'kolo Noihim Ufirko Nahe Ume'arav Medahatim Habriot Vetigar Besatahan Leval Yastineni V'inadi l'ginu alecha v'al kol pshayim t'chaseh be'ahava chol tzarot v'ra'ot hafach lanu l'chol Yisrael sason simcha v'chayim u'shalom ha'emet v'ashalom ehavu v'lo yishu milsho b'tfilati Yiratzon v'fnecha Adonai, Elohei Abraham, Yitzchak v'Yaakov, Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon Eheyeh Asher Eheyeh Shetabot Tfilati Lifnei Chisei Chivodecha Bavur kol hatzadikim v'chasidim hatmimim v'yesharim uvavur kevod shimcha gadol v'anora ki ata shomea tfilat amcha Yisrael berachamim Baruch atah shomei tefillah.
And we continue on page 313. We rise for the beginning of the repetition of the Amidah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Oel Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim V'konei Hakol V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot Umevi goel lifnei v'neihem למען שמו באהבה. מסוד חכמים ונבונים ומלמד דעת מבינים. הבטחתי בתפילה ובתחנונים לכלות ולחנן פני מלך מלא רחמים מוחל וסולח לעוונים. זכרנו לחיים מלך חפץ בחיים וכותבנו בספר החיים למענך אלוהים חיים. מלך עוזר ופוקד ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה.
אמן.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיה מתים אתה רב להושיע. מכלכל חיים בחסד מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ברופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך. מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה. מי כמוך אהב הרחמים זוכר יצורם לחיים מרחמים. נאמן אתה להחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה המתים.
Amen. Winatana Tokef begins on page 315.
ובכן ולך תעלה קדושה כי אתה אלוהינו מלך מוחל וסולח. ונתן תוקף קדושת היום כי הוא נורא נורא ואיום. ובו תינשא מלכותך וייכון בחסד בחסד כיסאך ותשב עליו באמת אמת כי אתה הוא Dayan umolchiach Viodei havaed Vechotei vachotem Vesofer umoneh Yizkor kol hanishkachot v'tiftach et sefer hazichronot umehei alav yikarei Nilach Vechotam yad kol adam bo. Uv'shofar gadol yitakah Mechol dimama Yishama Umalachim yechafezun Echil rada yochezun V'yomeru Hine Yahom Hadin Livkod al tzva marom badin Ki lo yizku beinecha badin Echol bahei olam yahavun Lefanecha kivnei madon Kevakarat rohedro mavir tzono tachat shivto Kein tavir vetispor vetihimne vetivkod nefesh kol chai vetachtoch kitzpa lechol beria v'tichtov et gezahar dinam.
And we'll continue, before we continue on with Rosh Hashanah, Alex is going to sing Leonard Cohen's If It Be Your Will.
If it be your will that I speak no more, and my voice be still as it was before. I will speak no more. I shall abide until I am spoken for. if it be your will. If it be your will, that a voice be true from this broken hill, I will sing to you. From this broken hill, all your praises they shall ring. If it be your will to let me sing, if it be your will, if there is a choice, let the rivers fill, let the hills rejoice. Let your mercy spill on all these burning hearts in hell. If it be your will to make us well, and draw us near, and bind us tight, all your children here in their rags of light, in our rags of light, all dressed to kill, hand this night, if it be your will, if it be your will.
We turn back to the middle of page 315.
Mirosh Hashanah Yikatevun Uyom Tzom Kippur Yechatemun Mirosh Hashanah Yikatevun Uyom Tzom Kippur Yechatemun Hama Yahavrun V'chama Yibareyun Mihyeh Umihi Yamut Mi Vekitza Umi Lo Vekitza Merosh Hashanah Yikatevun Ubiyom Tzom Kippur Yechatemun Mi Vahesh Umi Vahamayim Mi Vacharev Umi Vachaya Mi Varav Umi Vatsama Berosh Hashanah Yikatevun Ubiyom Tzom Kippur Yechatemun Mi Vaharash Umi Vamagefa Mi Shashana Ikatevun Uviyom Som Kipur Yechatemun Mi Yanuach Umi Yanua Mi Ashkit Umi Yitoraf Mi Yishalev Umi Yityaser Mi Ya'ani Umi Ya'ashir Mi Yushbal Umi Yaharum Utishuva Utefila Utedaka Mavirin et Roa Hagizeira Ki keshimcha kein tehilatecha kashelichos benoach lihirtzot ki lo hotachpot b'mohot hamet ki im beshuvo midarko bechaya yad yomoto techakelo im yashuv miyad tekablo Emet ki atahu yotram ve'ata yodeya yitram ki heim basar vadam Adam yesodo me'afar ve'sofo le'afar V'nafsho yavi lachmo mahashul kacheresh hanishbar kechatzir yavesh uketzitz novel kitzel over ucheanahan kahala ucheruach no shavet ucheavak pohoreach vechachalom yahu Ve'atahu melech el chai v'kahayam. Ram pam 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 pararam pam 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 pam. En ki tzva lishnotecha v'en ketziohrech yamecha. V'en ketziohrech yamecha bam 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 bararam bam 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 bam. V'en shiol makvok kodecha v'en perush li'elam shemecha shimcha noeh lecha v'yata noeh noeh lishmecha u'shmeinu karata v'shmecha bam 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 asay leman shemecha v'kadesh et shimcha ahal makdish shemecha v'avor kivod shimcha Hana'aratz ve'hanigdash Kesod siach sarfei kodesh hamakdishim Shimcha hamakdishim Shimcha b'kodesh darei mala Im darei mahata Kakatu
Kadosh Adonai Tzvaot Melech Haaretz Kevodo. The
Kadosh,
Kedusha is on
Kadosh,
page
Kadosh, Adonai
317.
Tzvaot, Melech Haaretz, Kivodo, Kivodo, Malei Olam. Mehishartov Shralim, Zelo Zeh, Aye Mekom Kivodo, Leumatam Baruch Yameru.
Baruch Kevod Adonai Mimkomo.
Baruch Kevod Adonai Mimkomo, Mimkomo, Hu Yifen Berachamim, Yahachonam Am Yachadim Shemo, Erev Avoker, Bechol Yom Tamid, Pahamayim B'Yahava Shema HaOmrim.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Hu Eloheinu Hu Avinu Hu Malkeinu Hu Mahoshienu Vehu Yashminu Merachamav Shenit Le'enei Kol Chai Lihiyot Lachem Le'Elohim
Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Ani Adonai Elohechem. Adir Adirenu Adonai Adonenu Adir Shimcha Bechol Haaretz V'haya Adonai Lemelech Al Kol Haaretz Hayom Hahu Adonai Echad U'Shemo Echad. Kochecha katuv
Imloch Adonai
lemor.
Leolam El Hayach Tzion.
Imloch Adonai leolam Elohai Yitziyah ledor vador. Hallelujah. Ledor vador nagid galecha ulenetzach netzachim kedushatcha nakdish. Veshivchach Eloheinu ipu amush leolam voed ki el melech gadol v'kadosh ata.
And those of you who are practicing for Neela this afternoon and managed to stay standing that entire time, you may be seated. We continue on page 319.
Ha'ochez biyahad midat mishpat v'chol ma'aminim shehu el emunah habochen uvodeg in ze nistarot v'chol ma'aminim shehu bochen klayot hagoel mimavet ufodeh mishachar v'chol ma'aminim shehu goel chazak hadahan yechidi levai olam v'chol ma'aminim shehu dayan emet hagoy beyeh asher eheh v'chol ma'aminim shehu yameh hoveh v'yihiyeh havadai shemo kein tehilato v'chol ma'aminim shehu v'yein bilto hazocher lemaskirav tovot zichronot v'chol ma'aminim shehu zocher habrit hachotei chayim lechol chai v'chol ma'aminim shehu chai v'kayam hatovu meitiv l'ra'im v'latovim v'chol ma'aminim shehu tov la'hakol ha'yodeya yehetzer kol yitzurim.
And we'll turn to page 322 for Ya'atayu. For those of you who are with us on Rosh Hashanah, this is the really upbeat and fun melody that Alex sang. And if you were just getting the hang of it by the end, now's your opportunity to join in from the beginning.
ויעתיו כל עבדיך.
וייתנו לך כתר מלוכה.
ויברכו עבדיך.
וייתנו לך כתר מלוכה.
ויגידו באים צדקך.
וייתנו לך כתר מלוכה.
וידרשוך אם לא ידעוך.
וייתנו לך כתר מלוכה.
ויהללוך כל אפסי הארץ.
וייתנו לך כתר מלוכה.
יאמרו תמיד יגדל אדוני.
וייתנו לך כתר מלוכה.
יזנחו את עצביהם.
וייתנו לך כתר מלוכה.
יחפרו עם פסיליהם.
וייתנו לך כתר מלוכה.
ויתו שכמך לעבדיך.
וייתנו לך כתר מלוכה.
ויראוך עם שמש מבקשי פניך.
וייתנו לך כתר מלוכה.
ויכירו כוח מלכותך.
וייתנו לך כתר מלוכה.
ויעמדו טועים בינה.
וייתנו לך כתר מלוכה.
וימללו את גבורתך.
וייתנו לך כתר מלוכה.
נשאוך מתנשא לכל ראש.
וייתנו לך כתר מלוכה.
ויסלדו בכי לפניך.
וייתנו לך כתר מלוכה.
ויעטרוך נזר תפארה.
וייתנו לך כתר מלוכה.
ויפתחו הרים רינה.
וייתנו לך כתר מלוכה.
ויתעלו עם במלכך.
וייתנו לך כתר מלוכה.
ויקבלו עול מלכותך עליהם.
וייתנו לך כתר מלוכה.
וירוממוך בקהלם.
וייתנו לך כתר מלוכה.
וישמעו רחוקים ויבואו.
וייתנו לך כתר מלוכה. And we continue on the bottom of 322.
ותמלוך אתה אדוני לבדך על כל מעשיך. בהר ציון משכן כבודך. ובירושלים עיר קודשך ככתוב בדברי קודשך. ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון לדור ודור. הללויה. קדוש אתה ונורא שמך ואין אלוה מבלעדיך ככתוב. ויקבע אדוני צבאות במשמר ואל הקדוש נקדש בצדקה. ברוך אתה אדוני המלך
Amen.
Ata v'chartana mikol amim, ato tana ratzita banu, v'rom tana mikol shana v'kiddushana mitzotecha, v'kertana malkeinu la'avodatecha, v'shimcha hagadol v'akadosh aleinu karata. Atitin lanu Adonai Eloheinu b'avat, Yom HaKippurim hazeh l'mchila, v'tzicha l'chapara, v'imcha bo ad kol abonoteinu, mihikra kodesh zecha l'tzihat Mitzrayim.
And we continue in the middle of page 324 in the English. Let's read together a prayer for Jewry in distress. Our God and God of our ancestors, show compassion to our brothers and sisters of the house of Israel who suffer persecution. Deliver them from darkness to light. Accept with compassion the prayers of your people Israel who cry out to you on this day of atonement wherever they dwell. And in just a moment, we'll turn to page 325 for the Aleinu Hagadol. This is the part of the service where definitely Alex and I fully prostrate ourselves in front of the ark. And as I said over Rosh Hashanah, you can each and every one of you take the chance to do this at home. Another one of the possible benefits of being a little bit more alone this year is if you ever felt self-conscious about trying this in shul, you can try it in the comfort of your living room. You can grab a yoga mat or a pillow to make it a little bit more comfortable. But when we get to the V'anachnu Korim, if you're able and flexible and willing, try what it feels like to fully prostrate yourself during the Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon ha'akol לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה שלא שם חלקנו כהם וגורלנו ככל המונם. Akadosh Baruch Hu. Shehu noteh shamayim v'yoser aretz u'moshav yikaro b'shamayim imal u'shchinatu zo b'gavhei meromim u'Eloheinu einod emet malkeinu efes zulato kakatuv v'torato v'yadata hayom b'hashevota el levavecha Ki hu Elohim, ki Adonai hu Elohim, Hashamayim mima'al, v'al haaretz mitachat einod.
You may be seated. In just a moment, we're going to start the two-part service that forms the heart of the Mussaf service. We have the Avodah service in commemoration of the actual temple service that took place when the temple was still in existence, and we have the martyr service, which recounts the great rabbis of Israel who were killed and persecuted throughout history. And Alex is going to give a full introduction, both musical and with words, to this section of the service, but we're going to give him a second to breathe, and we're going to read the service in the temple on the Day of Atonement, the introduction that's on page 326 in the Machzor. The world of God is great and holy. Of all the lands of the world, the land of Israel was set aside to be holy for us. And in the land of Israel, the holiest city is Jerusalem. In Jerusalem, the holiest place was the Holy Temple, and the holiest site in the temple was the Holy of Holies. Our tradition is that in the world there are 70 nations, and of them, Israel was set aside to be holy unto God. The holiest of the people Israel is the tribe of the Levites. The holiest of the Levites are the priests, and among the priests, the holiest was the high priest. The lunar year has 354 days. Some days are set aside as holy days. Holier than the festivals are the Shabbatot, and the holiest of the Shabbatot is the Day of Atonement, the Shabbat of Shabbatot. There are 70 languages in the world, and of them, Hebrew was chosen as our holy tongue. The holiest of all things written in the Hebrew language is the Holy Torah. In the Torah, the holiest part is the 10 Commandments, and the holiest of all the words in the 10 Commandments is the name of God. At a certain hour, on a certain day of the year, all these four holinesses met together. This took place on the Day of Atonement, at the hour when the high priest entered the Holy of Holies and there revealed the divine name. And if he invoked God's name in purity, all of Israel was forgiven. Wherever a person stands to lift up eyes to heaven, that place is a Holy of Holies. Every human being created by God in God's own image is a high priest. Each day of a person's life is the Day of Atonement. Each one of us can face God with the language of the heart. Each one of us can be forgiven. Each one of us can achieve atonement and be made pure in the eyes of God. Alex?
Chag Sameach, Gemar Chatima Tova. I know you've heard plenty from me, so I'm going to try to keep this brief. Unlike Alex, these are kind of just scattered notes and not a properly written down speech, so I'm going to do my best. Obviously not my forte here. In thinking about the Avodah service, there are a couple of different aspects to the Avodah service. One of them, which is quite well known and also quite mysterious, is the idea of the Eila Eskara, the 10 martyrs, 10 rabbis across different points in time, but brought together, weaved into one fabric of a story, who were killed in quite brutal fashion by a mysterious force. We don't even know. The text does not even say where they're from. And they're killing because the rabbis are some of the most well-known and pious individuals in our Jewish history and lineage. In the story, the angels actually ask, what is all this for then? If these men walked in the ways of your Torah, and God basically answers, not another word, or I will turn the rest of the world to water. I think we, a lot of us probably have had, many of those thoughts run through our head recently, just trying to comprehend some of the things that have been going on in the world and why they're happening. But I think if we think about the other aspect of the avoda, it's the temple service, it's recounting what happened in the temple, and it's mourning for the days of the temple. But we do actually have a very clear reason why the second temple was destroyed, and that was Sinat Chinam. In addition, the students of Rabbi Akiva were murdered en masse for the crime of not respecting each other. This idea of treating each other with respect, of loving one another no matter who they are or what they look like, I think is something that is really reflected in this community. If we think about our Jewish life and about the avodah service, as my wife, I think, astutely put it, the idea back then of having no temple would have seemed inconceivable. I don't think that the Jews would have even known where to turn. And yet here we are, a couple of thousand years later, creating new Jewish rituals bound in the idea of respect, respect for everyone who walks in this room and this door and into our community, no matter what they look like or what kind of background they have, while also continuing the legacy of this Jewish community with such a rich and storied history. So, what we as Jews are taught to come to grips with the idea there is so much that we will never understand. It's in God's hands, it's in God's plans, and I think we struggle with that on Yom Kippur, with the idea of praying and knowing that we can't possibly pray enough to wipe away our sins, but also trying to take agency and being able to stand up and ask God for the things that we want, both for ourselves, for our family, and for the world at large. I think that the last few months, and for some it was many years before that, but certainly the last few months and the last year have awakened thousands of us and around the world to the systemic racist structure undergirding this country. And in addition, the pandemic, I would say, has exposed the brutally unjust ways that our country has decided mi yichyeh u'mi yamut, mi ya'ani u'mi ya'ashir, who will live, who will die, who will be enriched, and who will be impoverished. So, the song that I chose is it's kind of obscure lyrics, but it's a traditional Christian song. It's called Farther Along. And the lyrics of that are all about accepting that we don't know what's in front of us and we only can get experience once we pass on. But in the spirit of maybe bridging that gap, I wrote a verse that I will sing. It's the last verse that I think can kind of that maybe while we're listening to the song, we can focus on the idea that the work that's in front of us, the work that we're doing now to reach out our hands to the stranger in our midst, to the ones who need us, to work within our communities, to band together to create a stronger foundation for the generations after us who will continue that work, and to know that no matter who walks in, this door, we are going to accept them with open arms. We can think about that work and focus on the idea that, yes, we don't know, we will never have the full conception of what is happening, but with experience comes perspective. And each thing, this small action that we do gives us a little bit more insight into the world and how we can make that place better. Lo aleinu hamlacha ligmor, velo anachnu ben chorin lehibatel mimena. It is not on us to finish the work, nor are we exempt from continuing it. The song is called Farther Along. Father along, we'll know all about it. Father along, we'll understand why. Cheer up, my brother, live in the sunshine. We'll understand it all by and by. Tempted and tried, we're oft made to wonder why it should be thus all the day long, while there are others living among us, never molested, though in the wrong. Faithful till death, said our loving Master. A few more days to labor and wait. Toils of the road will then seem as nothing as we sweep through the beautiful gate. Father along, we'll know all about it. Father along, we'll understand why. Cheer up, my sister, live in the sunshine. We'll understand it all by and by. When our hands reach out to help those who need it, no matter religion, creed, color, or race, then we can see the world bend towards justice, filling the holes of our broken place. Father along, we'll know all about it. Father along, we'll understand why. Cheer up, my sister, live in the sunshine. We'll understand it all by and by.
Thank you, Ides, for your words. Thank you for your song. We're going to change gears a little bit and turn back to page 333 and read the blessing of the high priest for the new year, which I don't think we've read in English in the past, but I was looking through it this year and it spoke to the farmer that is still in me, so I wanted to share it with all of you. The bottom of page 333. And this was the prayer of the high priest as he emerged on the Day of Atonement from the Holy of Holies. May it be your will, Adonai our God and God of our ancestors, to grant us with all your people Israel a year of abundance, a year of blessing, a year of good fortune, a year of bountiful harvest, a year of prosperity and success, a year of assembly in your holy place, a year of song, a year of fulfilling life, a year of dew and rain and sun, a year of sweet fruit at the harvest, a year of atonement and forgiveness for all our sins, a year in which our bread and water are blessed, a year of rest, a year of consolation, a year of abundant joy, a year of delight, a year in which the fruit of our womb and of our earth are blessed, a year in which our going and coming are blessed, a year in which our community achieves salvation, a year in which your mercy descends upon us, a year of peace and tranquility, a year in which we go up in joy to your land, a year in which your people Israel will not require support from one another or from other people, the work of their hands being fully blessed. And we rise as we turn to page 346 and open the ark for Shema Kolenu.
Shema Kolenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Chus v'rachem aleinu, v'kabel b'rachamim, u'v'ratzon et tefilateinu.
Shema Kolenu Adonai Eloheinu, Chus v'rachem aleinu, v'kabel b'rachamim b'ratzon et tfilateinu.
Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Chadesh yameinu kekedem.
Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Chadesh yameinu kekedem.
Al tashlichenu milfanecha v'ruach kodshecha al tikach mimenu.
Al tashlichenu milfanecha v'ruach kodshecha al tikach mimenu.
Al tashlichenu li'ehei digna kichlot kochenu al ta'azvenu.
Al tashlichenu leitzikna kichlot kochenu al tazveinu. And we continue on page 347.
Eloheinu le'avoteinu ve'imotenu silach lanu mechal lanu kaper lanu ki anu amecha ve'ata Eloheinu anu vanecha ve'ata avinu anu avadecha ve'ata adoneinu anu kehalecha ve'ata chelkeinu anu nachlatecha ve'ata gehora aleinu anu tzonecha ve'ata roheinu anu charmecha ve'ata nodreinu anu feulatecha ve'ata yotreinu anu rayatecha ve'ata dodeinu anu seulatecha ve'ata kiroveinu anu amecha ve'ata malkeinu anu mamirecha ve'ata mamireinu.
And we turn the page to page 348, and we'll continue together with the Ashamnu.
Ashamnu, Bagadnu, God Chazalnu, Dibarnu Dofi, ay, 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 Hevinu, Vehirshanu, Zadnu, Chamasnu, Tofalnu, Sheker, Yara, Kizavnu, Latsnu, Maradnu, Niatsnu, Sararnu, Avinu, Pashanu, Sararnu, Kishinu, Oref, ay, 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 Rashanu, Shechatnu, Tiabnu, Tahinu, Titahanu.
And we continue on the inside back cover of the Machzorim with the Ahab now.
Ay, 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 ay. Ahavnu, Berachnu, Gadalnu, Dibarnu Yofi. Ay, 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 ay. Helinu, Vechasnu, Zeraznu, Chamalnu, Tipachnu Emet, Yatsnu Tov, Kibadnu, Lamadnu, Machalnu, Nichamnu, Solalnu, Orarnu, Pa'alnu, Tzadaknu, Kivinu la'aretz. Ay, 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 ay. Richamnu, Shakadnu, Tamachnu, Taramnu, Tikanu.
And we'll continue on page 353. There's an alternate set of Al-Khayt, which was designed to be added in Mussaf. If you look at the note on the top of page 353, it says Rabbi Avraham Holtz has written a contemporary Al-Khayt focused on the sins of the Jewish community and not focusing and reacting with zeal to contemporary crises. The Rabbi Holtz had the Holocaust in mind when he wrote this alphabetical acrostic. The words can be applied to many situations in our time. And as Alex spoke to, the words can certainly be applied to many situations in our time. I'm going to read them in English. I invite you to read along with me from home. We have sinned against you and them by refusing to hear. And we have sinned against you and them by betraying friends. We have sinned against you and them by hesitating. And we have sinned against you and them by useless conferences. We have sinned against you and them by being overcautious. And we have sinned against you and them by not using our power. We have sinned against you and them by senselessness, and we have sinned against you and them by despairing. We have sinned against you and them by being patient, and we have sinned against you and them by frivolity at dreadful times. We have sinned against you and them by appeasement, and we have sinned against you and them by theological rationalizations. We have sinned against you and them by complacency, and we have sinned against you and them by communal strife. For all these sins, forgiving God, forgive us, pardon us, grant us atonement.
Ve'al kulam Elohai selichot slach lahanu mechal lahanu kapelahanu.
You may be seated.
Eloheinu v'lo avoteinu v'imotenu mechal avonotenu v'yom ha'kippurim hazeh mechei v'aver p'sheinu v'chatotenu mineged einecha ka'hamur Anochi hu moche p'shaech lemani v'chatotcha lo eskor v'nehemar Achiticha b'shaecha v'chanan chatotecha shuva elai ki galticha v'nehemar Ki vayom hazeh yechaper aleichem netaharetchem mikol chatoteichem Lifnei Adonai titaru Eloheinu v'lo avoteinu v'imotenu Kahadshenu v'mitzvotecha v'techokenu v'toratecha Sabinu v'tevecha v'tzamchenu b'shuatecha V'tehei libeinu li'avdecha b'yemet Ki ata salchan Yisrael Umchalan shivtei Yisru mechol dor vador Umil ba'necha ein lanu melech mocha v'soleach Ela ata Baruch ata Adonai Melech mocha v'soleach La'avonotenu Ve'la'avonot amo beit Yisrael Uma'avir ashmotenu v'chol shana v'shana Melech al kol haaretz mekadesh Yisrael Melech al kol haaretz mekadesh Yisrael Melech al kol haaretz mekadesh Yisrael Eyom HaKippurim
Amen. Page 355.
Yitzei Adonai Eloheinu Amcha Yisrael Utfiatam Vashevet Havodah Lidbir Beitecha Utfiatam Bava Tekabel B'Ratzon B'Ratzon Tamid Avodat Yisrael Amecha Techezena Eineinu L'Shuchati Omer Achamim Baruch Ata Adonai Amachazir Shchinato Letzion
Amen. Modim anachnu lach.
Oh, die manach lach shatter horen Eloheinu ve'otenu mimotenu lamed tzurchainu mageni shato darbadon lechas bertilatecha chainu mistrim biadecha Yal nishu in hablo lach Yal nisecho shulchaim elenu Yal nifotech v'totecho shcholit erev akvat saharayim Hatov kiluchal urachamecha V'ramachem kilutam v'chatzadecha me'olam kivinu lach Yal kulam mitbarach v'imam shimcha malkeinu tamid le'olam va'ed.
Tov v'chaim tovim kol b'nei britecha.
Avinu malkeinu zechorach mecha v'oshchascha v'chalei dever v'cherev v'ashvi u'mashchit v'avon u'shma magefa u'fegara v'chol machala v'chol tekala v'chol ktata v'chol mi'ei poraniyot v'chol gzeira sinat chinam mehei aleinu u'me'al kol b'nei britecha Uchtov l'chayim tovim kol b'nei britecha V'chol hachayim yodu chasela v'yelu et shimcha b'emet hayu shorotenu zotenu sela v'haruch ata Adonai hatov shimcha l'chaneh lehodah
Amen.
Eloheinu v'lo
Top of
avoteinu
357.
v'imotenu barucheinu bavracha hamshuleshet Torah k'tuva yedei Moshe avdecha amura miperon uvanav kodim akdoshecha kamur yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha
Ken yiratzon.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha
Ken yiratzon.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom
Ken yiratzon.
Sim shalom ba'olam tova uvracha Chaim v'chesed v'rachamim aleinu v'chol Yisrael amecha v'achenu avinu kulam ke'echad be'or panecha ki be'or panecha natata lanu Adonai Eloheinu Torah chaim v'avad chesed u'tzaka uvracha v'rachamim v'chayim v'shalom v'tov beinecha l'varech adam chol Yisrael v'chol eitav v'chol shah b'ishlomecha בספר חיים ברכה ושלום ופרנסה טובה ניזכר וניכתב לפניך אנחנו בכל עמך בית ישראל לחיים טובים ושלום ונאמר כי וירבו ימיך ויוסיפו לך שנות חיים לחיים טובים תכתבנו אלוהים חיים כתבנו בספר החיים ככתוב ואתם הדבקים באדוני אלוהיכם חיים כולכם היום.
And we turn to page 58 and rise.
Yaham te yaham te nu. Amen. Yaham te vahar chenu.
Amen.
Yaham te gahad lenu.
Amen.
Hayom tidrishenu letova. Amen. Hayom tichtivenu lechaim tovim. Amen. Hayom tikabel berachamim uveratzon et tfiloteinu. Amen. Hayom tishma hashavatenu. Amen. Hayom titmechenu bimin tzidkecha. Amen. Yanana nana.
The ark is closed. We can keep Kayom Hazeh.
Kayom hazeh tifinu sasinu soichim b'vinyan shalem kakatuv al yad nevi'echa vehaviotim el har kodshi v'simachtim b'veis tevilasi ki veiti v'tfila yikarei lecha olamim utzedaka uvracha v'rachamim v'chayim v'shalom yeh lanu lecho Yisrael ad ha'olam. Baruch atah Adonai oseh ha-shalom.
Amen. We continue with the full Kaddish on page 359.
Yitkadal ve'yikahada shemei rahaba
Amen.
ve'almadi rakirute ve'amlich malchute v'chayechonu yomeichonu v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'hagal uvizman kori ve'imeru amen.
Amen.
Yehi shmei rabba mevarach le'olam le'olmei olmaya yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitba'av yitramam ve'yitnaseh ve'yitadav yitalev ve'yitalal shemei dekudsha
Richu.
li'ehela li'ehela וירחת ושהירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן מעלמה ואמרו.
Amen.
תתקבל תהילתון ובאותון דכל ישראל, קדם אבוהון דבשמיה ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
יהי שלום הרב אמין, שמיה בחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
Amen.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן.
Amen. Yasher Koach, Alex. You can take a seat. So a little inside baseball, everyone can take a seat. A little inside baseball knowledge here before we move on to our break. I was peeking over Alex's shoulder right there, and I saw in big letters under the end of Kaddish Shalem, break, all in caps. I can't emphasize enough how grateful we are to have you here, Alex. The fact that you can bring so much enthusiasm and clarity of your voice at the end, at this point in the day still is remarkable. And I think that I get a lot of the credit for the work that you do. So thank you so much for being up here. And thank you to everyone else who participated in services this morning. Thank you for sharing your voices, whether over Zoom or in person. And also, before I forget, thank you to Maura Joan and Maura Shira, who led children's services this morning. And thank you to Ben Schurz and Max Scanlon, who were our AV experts this morning. We cannot do it without you. Thank you. It is 2:35. We did pretty good on this shift. We're right about on time. So you have an hour to relax or take a nap until we come together at 3:30 for meditation with Joel over Zoom. That'll be using the same Zoom link. And then we're back at 5 for Mincha. We're going to have Reverend Ogun Holder tell us his own personal Jonah story as a little guest speaker treat during Mincha. And then we will continue with Ne'ilah, and we will shoot to have Havdalah and the shofar blast by 10 after 7. And please, if you did pick up one of our high holiday gift bags, have your Havdalah candle ready at around 7 o'clock so that we can look at our Zoom screens and see the beautiful flames of Havdalah all over the greater Newburyport area. And other than that, I will give everybody a chance to unmute and say Shana Tova and wish each other well. And we'll see you back here either at 3:30 or at 5. Shana Tova. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Alex. Shana Tova, everyone.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
Shana
Beautiful
Tova.
job, Alex and Alex.
Yep,
And
very
Joan.
inspiring.
Hi.
I wish there were more people on this part of it,
I
but
know.
this is great.
Luyan.
Yeah. Oh, hi, friends. And we'll see you at 5 or 3:30 if you guys do that.
Koach.
Shana Tova.